Do you know when you get that signal to turn around and you notice something you hadn't realized was there? Or how about when someone is looking at you and you know to turn and look at that person at the same time? Perhaps you've called a friend at the same time as they were calling you. These intuitive times are very magical. They are also a sign of our higher consciousness taking action for us without us even realizing it. My two guests today are going to share more about how they've developed intuition and how it's guided them during some of their toughest times. Together, we're sharing these skills in an upcoming event, and we're preparing for the Year of the Green Dragon in 2024. And we want you to be ready and open to the insights your own intuition will be guiding you with. Marian and I first met at a conference that we were both presenting at, and we both were sharing the power of our card decks. And we were right after one another. We reached out and connected because of our mutual interest in art and intuition. And we've continued to develop that relation by adding our colleague, Tanya Levy. Marian meditates and then paints to receive her intuitive messages. And the results of her work have created 2 card decks full of frequency installations along with affirmations and art. Tanya Levy and I have been colleagues and collaborators for many years. And Tanya is a counselor at the local community college, and she loves to take photographs and transform them into meaningful messages for others. Her artwork lines our desks and walls and is added to jewelry that she also makes. Tanya and I created the affirmations for the Body in the Biofield deck and the book, and this has taken my dissertation work to new heights and discoveries, and each week it opens up with more information. And this has been over 3 years of discovery. So let's dive into frequency installations, developing intuition, and following our hearts. You're listening to Be Well with Michelle Greenwell. This is sponsored by Dance Debut Inc. and the Cape Breton Tea Company. Please welcome Marian Egan and Tanya Levy. Hello, ladies.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
It's just so wonderful. It's like a warm hug just when the 3 of us get together. I love it.
It's just
And the sun agrees.
Yes, yeah. And we have lovely sunshine here in Ireland at the minute, which is it's great.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Sun shining on you, Tanya. It's beautiful.
So for those people on the podcast, Tanya and I both have these sunbeams that are coming across the one side of our faces as the sun is coming around today in the early mornings. So, okay, so let's get started. We are all lovers of card decks, so I thought it would be great to start with a card that you pulled today for our conversation, and wherever you pulled that card from. Marian, what have you got?
So the card I chose today was from my deck called I Dreamed a Dream, which escapes me now. So it's from this deck here. And the card I pulled is called Present Time. And again, it has the affirmation on it. Would you like me to read it or?
Yes, please.
So it says, there is no time like the present. It is the daily gift that you can give yourself. There is nothing that you can do about the past except learn the lessons that your past has taught you. When you write the word now backward, it says 1. So when you live in the now, you have 1. Do it and notice your daily change. It can be exciting and extremely rewarding. Live in the now. So this is the present time. And it has a frequency number attached as well.
Oh, it's beautiful. Do you want to just mention what that frequency number does with that particular card?
Okay, so the frequency number, I'll read it out. It's 55333355. The frequency, when you install the frequency into your body, it'll bring you into the present tense. It will bring you into the now. So it's like a shortcut. So like some people will say, well, how do I do that? So this is like a little shortcut, brings you into that frequency so that you can resonate at that frequency of being in the present moment and just being and enjoying where you're at right now.
So cool. So cool. And the artwork on the front of that, you painted.
Yes, this is one of my, I would have painted this as a watercolor that I did, so this is part of this card deck. I've brought some of my artwork, my traditional artwork, into this deck, and I use my heart art as well. So heart art is painting from the subconscious, whereas that particular painting is a traditional landscape, or not landscape, but a traditional painting. It's not a heart art painting, you know. But when I was creating this deck, because I got the intuition instruction to create the deck, I needed some reference to reference what I want, the message I wanted to get across. And this just, because it had the grandfather clock on it, I said, well, that would be nice for talking about present time. So I looked at my artwork to see what can I use as well as my heart art painting. So it's a mixture of my heart art and my traditional art.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I know for the listeners, they'll probably be thinking about their own gifts that they have, and it could be in art, could be in music, could be writing, that maybe they haven't been using to their full capacity. So I look forward to diving more into the conversation. Tanya, do you want to share what card deck you have pulled?
So I pulled from our card deck, Affirmations for the Body and Biofield. And this is the card for hip and pelvis. And it's from the deck Fascia Matrix Connections, because our Affirmations for the Body and Biofield has 4 decks in it. And this is from one of those decks. With the slightest of tension, a tug is created, a twist results, and a view is altered. Be open and ready when this awareness needs your intended focus. It's just a reminder, if you're being tugged in a certain direction, and, you know, sometimes you just make a slight step in a certain direction and it alters the course of your life and your day, or the moment you're in a positive way, or in the way that needs your focus and your attention. And I think that makes sense, because today we're talking about intuitive guidance, and, you know, the important message, I think, is not to ignore it. Because when we do, it just gets louder.
It gets louder, or, you know, we choose not to go that direction, and everything else gets harder. We definitely work harder then. Yeah. Okay. So I'm also pulled from our deck, Tanya. And I've been really working with the spine this last week or two, I guess. So I'll just pull it a little bit closer so people can see some of
Up a bit. Yeah, there you go. Down a bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's trying to get it closer, but with the sun shining on it, it's a little bit hard.
Perfect. It's perfect right now.
There we go. So cervical resonance is this one. So this is the neck. Living with courage and conviction inspires a creative and intuitive approach to all that is touched by your hand and voiced by your actions. It's about the throat, the third eye, and the crown connection. So how you speak about the ideas that you have. Third eye is the brow chakra, how you use your intuition to develop and hone some of your talents. And then the crown connection is, what are you guided to do that you wouldn't have thought of, but the universe is able to bring back to us. So this is really interesting, because this last week, I really have been focused on the different bones in the neck. And when we are at our computers, we have that forward action of the neck that happens, or driving in the car, or sometimes it might be when you're sitting on the couch watching TV, and that same neck comes out as you lean back, but your head goes forward in order to counterbalance. And so this neck ends up a lot of times in positions that it shouldn't be in, and we hold it there for prolonged periods. And so the artwork in this one provides the opportunity for that neck to find its balance and its resonance again. And then that's when our intuition can actually really come forward. It's not blocked. So it's been an interesting journey these last 2 weeks as I've explored that for my own neck and where it's going.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so the second part we want to get set up, because with the podcast, I always try to give people a balance as they're coming through and listening to the podcast, so they feel enlightened and lighter and may be guided in a certain direction by the time we get to the end. So I always like to include a cup of tea. That's to highlight the tea company, but also to highlight the choices that we make in the drinks that we choose. So, Marian, how about if we go back to you? What did you choose for today?
Today is just your traditional Irish tea, black tea.
A black tea. Is it an orange pekoe? Is it a Earl Grey?
No, it's not. I actually don't like Earl Grey. I actually don't know what the blend is.
Okay. But it's a rich black tea. It's beautiful color. You put it in a clear glass as well.
But I love to have a clear glass. And, it's something I always try to drink from is a clear glass. I don't know why, but I just like it. But yeah, so we're famous for our tea here in Ireland. So we love our cup.
Say it isn't so.
Say that again, Tanya?
Say it isn't so.
Yeah.
We're a little famous for our tea in Cape Breton too.
It's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, I just love it. I mean, it's one of my go-tos when I want to just sit back and relax. But I can fully understand what you're saying, Michelle, about dropping your head forward, because I tend to do that, particularly when I'm driving. And I notice people do that, particularly when they're driving. The chin juts out, and so it's a good thing to be aware. Just even the awareness of that happening is important. Yeah.
Yeah. Tanya, what have you got?
I've got Orchard Bliss from your tea company, which is a beautiful, rich, almost golden brown color. It has like cherries and peach, and it's very, very tasty.
And that is set up for Year of the Green Dragon for 2024. So you're working into where we want to head. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Just going to say, when it relates to tea in Cape Breton, I always think that we like steeped tea, but one time I went into the cafeteria and instead of writing steeped tea on it, they'd written step tea. So I just imagined somebody dancing, step dancing with tea in their hand. So
I love that. And I chose Friends United. I'm not sure if people, there we go, I can get it out of the sun. Friends United for my mug today. And Marian, I'm moving over to really enjoying a clear mug, because when you start to connect with the color, you have the addition of the frequency of that. And the frequency is already there by the color of your tea anyway. But when you actually connect with it, you have that chance to really be a part of what it's resonating at. So, but today I wanted Friends United because of the conversation we have about how we're going to collaborate and how we're going to be putting this new program forward for people to really be empowered with the messages that they're receiving from themselves or being guided to take action on. The tea I put inside is my Mission for Change community tea. And the reason I chose that one today is when we reach out to others and collaborate with others, there's this innate healing potential that's ignited within us. And so it's a dual purpose piece, but it actually comes with an ease. And people don't realize that when they're reaching out to others, that ease is created within themselves. So I thought I'd draw attention to that bit. So cheers. Thank you for being here and having this conversation today. And I hope people have made tea to relax and enjoy while they listen. Okay. All right. So let's dive in. Marian, maybe you can share a little bit about how intuition guides the work that you're doing.
Okay. Well, the first thing that I do is I sit and I have an intention of what, I don't know what's going to come through when I start painting, but I meditate. So I sit in silence and I meditate. Like, I'll give you an instance. Just last week, I had a dream about my mom. My mom came to me in a dream, and I noticed her sitting in a chair, and I seemed to be in a really big room, but she was in this chair, and she was smiling at me. It was like as if she was keeping an eye on me. So I walk over to her, I kneel down on the floor, put my hands in her lap, and I woke up. I felt a little bit robbed, so I decided, okay, well, I'll just paint and see what comes, you know. And so the painting that came out was I called Everlasting Love, and it brought a great sense of peace to me. You know, I never know what's going to come through in my paintings. I do set up a camera because I like to look back and see, well, where did I start and how did it come about? You know, so I video myself painting, and I'm just so delighted that I did that, because now I can look back, and it reminded me of the last deck that I created called I Dreamed a Dream, because it was a similar kind of painting to I Dreamed a Dream, you know. So that's really what I do, but I do have an intention. I have an intention before I start. Just let whatever wants to come through, come through. And sometimes it shows me what I need to face, you know, and sometimes what you need to face is not nice, you know. It's interesting. It's like your subconscious knows what it is that you're not aware of. So it brings it to your attention, it brings it forward, and it allows you then to use that. I use the painting then as a meditation for moving forward, if that, you know, answers your question.
Well, it's interesting because my husband always says when he's doing his architecture work, if somebody gives him that blank page to start on and says, I want to design, go for it, he's paralyzed. He doesn't know where to start or how to begin. But if somebody has the idea of what it is they're looking for, off he's running. And it's the same thing if you think about having that dream and like you said, being robbed of a little bit more time with your mom, then that opportunity to sit and be present and go, where can I take that? It would be so much easier if you just got up and then you just wanted to be grumpy all day because you wished you'd had more. But then you actually put in the effort to take the time to reflect on it and then look at the beauty that came from that. And then that everlasting piece is you can go back to that painting anytime.
Yeah.
And you can capture that feeling again. Yeah, beautiful. But it's that intention being set so you know where you're going, and then it's that opportunity to take the time to what can I do with that, and what does it mean? Yeah.
And the intention, if you think about it, it's like, you know, when you are in touch with your subconscious. To me, my subconscious is my internal sat nav. You can set it and you can go with it. So I can be the driver in my life, or I can let life just drive me, which used to be the way. I used to just go with whatever came my way. Now I decide what I allow to come my way. So I set my intention for what I want. So you're kind of bringing that to you rather than hoping it'll happen.
Tanya, do you want to jump in here? You want to talk about intuition for you?
Well, usually I set an intention every day that my day will flow with grace, ease, and beauty. And I think that I just listen and pay attention. I can get messages from nature. I can get messages from my art and my photographs. I can get messages from conversations over here with people. I can get inner nudges to contact a certain person or to explore a certain topic. In my work with students, I think I get a lot of nudges about how to support them or where to connect them. And I also think, I find, like today, my friend messaged me and sent me a note of gratitude because I'd given her a scarf when she was visiting in the summer, and it was cold the other day, and she wore it, and she felt wrapped in my love when she wore it.
Nice.
But then when I received that message, I think, okay, so I feel like it's a reminder to pay more attention to gratitude today myself. And to notice what I'm grateful for in my life, because I think it's easy to get caught up in our to-do lists and all the things we need to do, and kind of that productivity culture. And I think that intuition is a way to not buy into that, but be guided by our inner wisdom and our outer guides too. And I think that that's kind of what I would hope people would learn from our workshop, is how to pay attention to all the guidance we receive, all the intuitive guidance. I think of it sometimes as heart whispers, soul whispers, divine whispers. You know, I think the divine wants us to be happy and live a full life, and is always sending us messages to support that.
And, in our busy world, are we listening? Are we paying attention? What things are we missing? Yeah.
About 10 years ago, I was really stressed. I mean, both my parents were ill. This was before they both died. And I belonged to this group, and she sent us all intuitive messages. She just clipped them out of magazines and sent them to us. And mine was stand under a tree. So I taped that inside my cupboard, and every time I opened my kitchen cupboard, I saw that message. And every time I was stressed, I would just go outside and stand under my apple tree. Stand under my apple tree a lot. Or I'd imagine standing under my apple tree, because sometimes we can't physically do the things we want to do because we're constrained for some reason. But I think that one simple intuitive phrase redefined that whole year. And even now, when I'm stressed, I go, I'll just go stand under the tree. Stand under the tree, sit under the tree, lay under the tree. I think we can learn a lot from even trees and nature. And I talk to students a lot about co-regulating with nature, or going out, because nature is usually calm. Unless we're in the middle of a rainstorm, and even then we can still regulate with the rain, because it'll just wash everything away. But I just think that the intuitive guidance is everywhere.
And that's what I've enjoyed about the tea, and really diving into the messages of the herbs. I've had a lot of people who ask me, have you got this particular herb? I want a tea of just it. And that's usually because they're trying to fix something.
Right.
Instead of trying to be a part of something.
Well, plants are allies, right? And I remember I was at lunch one day up Route 19, which is another part of Cape Breton, at a restaurant, and she was selling plants, and I bought a eucalyptus plant, which I didn't know you could buy, and it didn't last forever. But I thought, why am I getting eucalyptus right now? And I looked it up in the spirit message. The ally of eucalyptus is to support you in grief, and my father had just died. And I think that, I still think about that, because that eucalyptus plant stayed in my kitchen for 2 years until it just said, I'm done. I guess eucalyptus doesn't last forever, at least not when I care for it. But, those messages are there for us. I see plants as allies, or herbs as allies in your case.
Yeah.
But herbs are plants.
Absolutely. And it's, we put them on our food, and we just kind of throw the seasonings into the soup so the soup will taste good. But when you actually run those herbs through your hands and then sprinkle them over the soup, and then savor the flavor that's coming up as it's steeping, it's a completely different experience. And I guess that's what we really want to draw to the people that are listening to this podcast right now, is that we want to develop and support how intuition is providing messages for people. And as they prepare for 2024 and the opportunity that the Green Dragon is bringing, which is manifestation and the opportunity to bring around abundance, we need to know what kind of abundance, because we can have abundance in a lot of ways, but it might be more than we wanted in some ways, and in other ways too we might end up missing. So how do we set our intention? How do we have that course? And then what is the intuition providing to us? So I think as people are thinking about, do I want to participate in something like that? The gifts that each of us has to bring to this conversation is really different, but things that we've experienced across the work that we've done for a long time. Tanya, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the writing and what you'll be bringing to the table for this special opportunity?
Well, I started writing a book about 10 years ago, and somebody suggested to me that I write letters to my book guides. And so I had many guides come forward, Alligator, which I thought was pretty funny to snap away anybody that didn't like what I was teaching, and Spider and Bear. There were a lot of different guides that came forward. And I think the purpose of the writing exercise is to just begin to explore how your intuitive guidance comes to you. So for me, it might be through guides, animal guides, or spirit guides. For you, it might be nature. For someone else, it might be through pets. For someone else, it might be through when they move, they get messages. And someone else may have an inner wise self that tries to talk to them while their critical voice, challenges that wise self. There may, and some of us have ancestors that guide us, grandmothers, grandfathers, elders. And so I think the purpose of the writing is to tap into how you receive guidance and what might those messages be.
Mm-hmm. And I enjoy, I've forgotten the name of it, but just putting that pen to the paper.
Free writing,
and letting go of the sentence structure and letting go of constructive ideas. And but you'll be taking everybody past that place into a little bit more of a guided area that they might not have thought of, and that will be able to expand anybody who has done some writing, but be able to bring around the intention a bit stronger.
Yeah, though Julia Cameron in her her book The Artist's Way talks about morning pages, and it's still a very great practice to just sit down and just write whatever's on your mind, and don't stop for grammar or punctuation until you've kind of emptied on 2 to 3 pages in the morning, though I usually end up doing it in the evening. But that also frees the way for guidance, because then you've kind of like sifted out the crap, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes free writing can bring the most amazing things, because we channel messages we didn't even know were there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Marian, with the artwork that you've done and the way that you've pulled intentions in, how are your gifts going to be enveloping people at this event?
Well, I think it's really getting in touch with how you're feeling. That's the main thing, because when you start just playing with color, it's not even about having a pretty picture to look at. That's not the outcome. The outcome is when you express how you're feeling just by playing with the color. If there is trauma, if there's grief, if there's sadness, if there's some sort of emotion that you're finding it difficult to even express, you can express in this way, and you don't need words to express. It's just about expressing. And once you have played with the color and you've expressed into this painting, now that feeling is outside of you. You have released it. It is now no longer blocking and stopping you from being the best that you can be. So it's releasing, it's relaxing, it's freeing. It's just a freedom to express yourself without having to speak.
Mm-hmm. And my opportunity with the workshop will be to bring movement in. And what I've noticed for a lot of people, so where you were talking about moving them forward, then being able to physically move us forward, because a lot of us have really been stuck at our computers or locked in our cars in positions. Even when I watch people at meetings or gatherings, the way that they sit themselves. Sorry, for those people on the podcast at the moment who can't see, Tanya is now surrounded by rays of light coming in from everywhere with the sunbeam. She's just enveloped by all this color. It's fantastic. Sorry, I just had to say that.
I can't even tell. It just looks white to me.
It's, it's
Funny.
amazing.
Oh, it's a gift for all of us you get to look at the moment. So I feel like that's a lovely signal for us. What's going to be happening? So as I bring in the movement and the awareness of where we're stuck, and then how to move us forward from that stuckness through different movement patterns, and some of it's just changing posture, and for a lot of people, they sit in the same chair, they roll back onto the tailbone, they curve the spine in a way that asks muscles to shut off and other muscles to clench up. And that can change how you feel, how you think, the way that intuition is perceived. And even if intuition came in, you might actually get the message in a different way just because of the posture. And so I really show people how they can really change things to be open and flowing to receive, but also to move forward in a much stronger way. So,
Well,
what were you going to say, Marian?
well, I experienced that with you the last time I joined you for the coffee, and you went through that process, which I had never experienced, and it was so empowering, and it was so gentle, and it was so, even the pun, but it was so moving. It really was. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that aspect of it.
So I think as the three of us, for those people listening to us for the first time, because we've talked in some different ways together, but when we first came together to figure out how can we collaborate, what are the ways that we can interact with each other's gifts, we've had some lovely gatherings where we've set intentions, we've each participated with our different activities, and we've always come away with some insights. Marian's always come away with another painting, which she's shared back with us, and it's been really interesting to see how that growth has taken us. And we hope that for those people that decide to come and join us for our event, it's on November the 5th, and it is the day after the North American time change. And we chose that time on purpose because it's a great place, as Marian started with the clock today, it's a great place for us to be present in time and almost to erase time, because the time zones are all shifting that day. And what we're able to do then is be within that shift. And we want to go up to the fifth dimension. And what we want to do with the fifth dimension is get us out of the mundane, everyday stuff and move us into things that have more meaning and more power behind it. So, Marian, do you want to talk a little bit about the fifth dimension painting and some of the details that came with that?
Yeah, well, as you know, I did the fifth dimension painting, and it was a wonderful experience, a personal wonderful experience. But for me, the fifth dimension is going beyond all space and time. It's being in the present moment. It's giving yourself that freedom to just be in the moment. There's a lovely harmony and balance. I have personally experienced since doing that painting that it's like as if I've no time for worry. I don't worry. Worry is a past. It's a past thing. I'm just enjoying being and having that harmony, that balance, that peace, and that contentness within myself. It's amazing what has transpired for me, just even as you say, collaborating together and coming to this point in time. It's been wonderful, and I'm really excited about, what's coming forward and how we're going to share what we have with other people so that we can bring other people along on this journey and just give them the tools that they can use themselves to, enhance their own life.
Tanya, did you want to add anything to that?
I think sometimes it's just wonderful to give ourselves permission to play with movement and to play with intention and to play with guidance and to move from a place of strain and kind of like when we resist and hold, and to kind of surrender to what we can learn about ourselves and our lives, and tools to decrease stress and increase relaxation, and to, you know, release worry and just be present in our lives.
And one of the things that is on the things that you should do for wellness, I was looking at wellness lists yesterday, and one of them is remove the stress from your life. And it's like, how do you do that? You know, the stressors are always going to be there, but our reaction can be different. And so I was reflecting on that little piece, because some days you deal well with stressors that come your way and some days you don't. And sometimes you have the right tools, but sometimes you don't. And what we hope that will be inspiring is showing people how some of the tools that we have might already be at their fingertips, but not realizing that they could be there. And that changes the way we respond to stress. And so, yes, you could remove certain conversations or people or situations that may be stressful, but you can't do that for everything. And so this is a way, and you may react to everything in a really heightened, stressful way. So this is a way for you to figure out how not to be there, but how to relax into the space, and then figure out what those stressors coming to you mean, and then how you can deal with them and let them go. And so then when you're looking at your wellness list, it's going to be a much different one than the generic one that is usually posted out in the public, with all the things that we already know about ourselves that we should be doing, and maybe we're doing, but maybe we're not doing. And that can be a stressor in itself as well, because then you look at the list and go, well, I'm not doing all those things. And then you have that reaction and that tension. I would love to show people right now, as they're listening, where some of their tension may be for them. And that might be an inspiration then to come and hear some more. So you want to play a little bit with some movement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So Tanya, you had just said that you, and for those people listening to the podcast, you wouldn't have seen, but she clenched her fist up and crossed her hands over her chest as she was talking about stressors, and just feeling what the pecs, so in the shoulder, the closeness that comes in with that. So if everybody just listening now wants to just cross those hands, you might want to clench a fist and just feel what it feels like in that shoulder and the front of the chest. Okay, and as you're sitting there, then notice where the breath goes, which is hard to get a breath in actually because it's kind of closed up. And then also notice what happened to your feet. So my feet have pulled tighter underneath the chair, gone closer together, and I've got the ball of the foot is kind of pushing into the floor and my heel is lifted. So I'm no longer grounded. And I've actually almost put a heightened fight or flight kind of response, because the ball of the foot is ready to run if I wanted to run. Okay, so from that position, what I invite you to do is release the hands first of all, let them go. And then I invite you to grab onto the top of your ears, and then just lift the top of your ears up gently and see how you can change your posture and where your posture goes. So if you're listening to this podcast, the three of us now have risen in the screen so that our heads are near the top and we can actually see our bodies rather than just our heads. And if you now hold the position, let your hands go, see how the hands will fall into the lap. And there's no longer this desire to close up. So across the center of the chest, we've now opened up the pecs. The pecs are there's two muscles there. So you got pec clavicular and pec sternal. And both of those, one is for the stomach meridian, so the stomach system, digestion. And pec sternal is on the wood element, and we're looking at liver, gallbladder. So we're looking at how we allow for flow in the body and how we digest things. So now that we've opened it up, we actually could digest things, but that also means we can also look at things differently. So just with that openness. So now if you take a breath in, see how the breath feels. It's got quite a bit of expansion, and that feels much better. And when we have more oxygen in there, then we have the opportunity to balance grief, guilt, and regret. And very often we act out of one of those when we're stressed. Okay, so from that little exercise, we've now changed also the neck. So when I had shown you cervical resonance at the beginning and talked about the neck and what it means, just from where you're at now, if you turn your head, how far can you see because of the length that you have in the neck? So there's a little bit of tension still in my neck, but I at least can see around. If you think about what can you see and what kind of intuitive hits you might be able to recognize, you now have that opportunity because you've opened. All right. For the last little bit here, I just feel like we need to rub the ears. And so for those that have been on a podcast before, you may have heard me say this, but you're just going to unroll your ears with your fingers. And you're just going to roll down from the top of the ear to the bottom of the earlobe. And then we're going to just do that 3 times. So you're going to go back up, just go a little bit deeper into the ear. And then the last one, just everywhere. Your ear's going to heat up. We've influenced all the organ systems. I have shivers kind of running down the body. So energy is flowing around. All right. And if you just take a moment just to turn your head again, you may notice that your range of motion has changed. And you might also notice that left and right are a little bit closer in balance. And this gives you an opportunity for all the systems to engage, but for you also to be able to see more possibility. And that puts Tanya back into the sunbeam.
I don't know what to say.
I love it. I love it. So anybody listening to the podcast, you may have to go to the YouTube channel just so you can have an actual picture of these beams that are coming in and the pyramid of color, the prisms that are coming through. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So if we could, you just couldn't orchestrate that. That is, to me now, Tanya and Michelle, this is like knowing that we're on the right path, on the right track, and we're getting this wonderful directional guidance coming in, and it's just shining its light there on Tanya. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that shimmer of color, there's just so much that color can support us with. And for those people that are not on the podcast who can see us in color, we all have vibrant colors around us, and the rooms that we sit in are all surrounded by color. And so we really do take a lot of time to make sure we find the right colors for us to help us support in our day. And that's what we want to bring to you with our new event. So for those people who think this is the way they want to go, they want to come and join us and play, we're going to actually do 90 minutes exploring all of the tools that we have. And then for those people who would like to work deeper into the 5th dimension, we're going to do an extra 30 minutes at the end for those that would like to stay on. And that's going to allow for a deeper dive. And for those people who have some ideas in their mind, some intentions, some manifestations they want for 2024, this will be a great place to ignite them and get them moving forward. You can register for the program, which is called Center into Your Intuition, Tools to Support Your Journey. You can register by going to bit.ly, bit.ly/Center Intuition. And that'll get you the registration page and the information for doing the registration. And you can also, in the notes for the podcast, are the ways to connect with the 3 of us. Marian, do you just want to share verbally how people can connect with you?
Yeah, well, on my website, there's a link that you can just book a slot to have a chat, and it's www.marianegan, MarianEgan.ie. marianegan.ie.
Perfect. Thank you. And Tanya, how can they reach you?
They can email me at caperpoet@gmail.com, or they can go to my website, which is www.heartladyinspiration.com.
Perfect. For those people looking for anything from me in relation to movement and wellness or tea, you can find me. I have a special link tree that will take you to all of the resources. So that would be linktr.ee/dance debut. And otherwise it would be dancedebut.com. And for the tea, it's capebretontea.ca. Okay, ladies, thank you for a wonderful conversation. I'm so excited about where we're going. And the three of us are collaborating for a conference that's going to be happening in May. And we're very excited about that because the artwork will be coming forth in a new way to help with unwinding trauma. So our program here coming up in November is a great jumpstart into the work that we do. And then you can dive deeper if you want to know more. All right. Thank you, Marian. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Bye. Bye-bye.
So season 3, we're devoted to the transformational process that happens when people reach into their authentic selves and create magic. And our season has several publications this year. So across 1 month, you have a conversation where I've brought in a lot of my tools, like this one today. And then you have conversations where I just interview people and their expertise in transformation and how they made changes. And I also have a conversation that I have with my sister once a month, and she sheds a light on a special family in Malawi, in the eastern part of Africa. And she's showing us how to ask the right questions to help others in need, and how those questions are insightful to ourselves, but also help us pull out the resources we have to help. And I love having those conversations too. So check into the podcast and see what some of the other conversations are that you might want to be a part of. Thanks so much, and be well.